Welcome to MDDC's 2020 Readership Survey. I'm Rebecca Snyder, Executive Director of MDDC. Just for a little bit of clarity, I did create a kind of a PowerPoint just so that I would have all my links in one spot. So let me just quick pull that up and share my screen. And so MDDC's readership survey is something that we do each year. Well, and I don't want to make it sound like it's this long process because we started it last year, and we focused on editorial at that point and decided that we would switch back between an editorial and advertising focus. So the even years are going to be advertising. And essentially, it's a readership survey where every publication that wants to participate gets their own publication-specific URL. We give you a toolkit of things that you can use to help publicize the survey. I, on the back end, produce results for each participating publication and then roll up all the results into a regional overview that's publicized to our members as well. So that's a little bit about how it works. If you guys have questions at any point, just jump in. I mean, it's a small group. We can talk about what works and what you're seeing. So you're seeing on this screen one of the ads that we've developed. You see that it has a lot of white space, which means you can drop your logo into it. So it's kind of white labeled for you. Looking back to last year, we were focused on editorial. If you want to see the readership results, you're welcome to just grab that link and it goes to a Dropbox and you can read all the details. But some of the key things that we found out that we had, I think, a pretty good response spread over about 9 publications. We found out that hyperlocal news is really what's important to readers. Readers do engage with content and advertisers, both print and online. And they also said that their buying decisions and their lives are impacted by what they see. Our members are also trusted as good sources of local news. And so there's some good percentages on that you can pull out. And then we also identified what news chunks were most important to readers. And so breaking news was top of their hit parade, state and local government news, and police and crime coverage. So as members developed their editorial, they could use that, and that readers are generally satisfied. So that's where we left off in 2019. And so our survey here, I just wanted to kind of quick walk through it. This week, everyone except for Chris, yours is coming today. I mailed a URL for your publications. If you have, and I don't think anyone on the call is in this situation, but if you need more URLs, if you want to test different publications, you're welcome to have as many as you want. But I've sent them all out. We are using the same survey for all the participants, so it can easily roll up. And the survey takes about 10 minutes to complete. We've asked that each publication sweeten the pot by offering a $50 gift certificate or gift card to a randomly selected respondent. So here we are. Does that all make sense to you thus far before we run through the survey?
Yeah.
Great.
All good.
All
hey,
right.
the only thing, Rebecca, to jump in, like you said, we've obviously, have you taken a look at what our requirements are from the state of Maryland as far as participation? You know, you don't have to be a subscriber to play, that kind of stuff.
Yep. Oh, yes. I'm sorry. I thought you had said you had looked at that.
Lottery and sweepstake rules.
Yeah.
Yes. And in fact, you don't have to be a subscriber. You can do, we are in compliance. We were last year and nothing has substantially changed. So, and that's one of the reasons we also ask in question 1, like, how do you interact with this? So you can, you don't have to be a subscriber, or even a regular reader. So a lot of these, because we're using it for free publications and paid publications, online only and print, we do allow people to select all that apply, so you can get a sense of what your readership numbers are looking like. So I'm gonna just kind of click through so that we have, we'll in question 1, how would you characterize your readership? So you can select any or all. And none of our questions are required, so that does help us get more, people can choose what they want to answer. We're asking also about how many readers go through a copy of the publication, if it's a print publication, and then just also how people heard about the survey. Anecdotally, the things that give you the best results are if you email an invitation out, and we'll get into some of those best practices in just a smidge. But you know, I would recommend that you publicize by using all the channels available. So put it on your website, the ads in the publication, and so forth. And then we kept this question, and we'll keep it year over year to give our publications a sense of what's important to their readers and to develop trend lines. So these are a ton of coverage areas that some of our members provide all of them, some of them provide only some. We do have a not applicable or not found in this publication area. We also are, we do have some questions specifically around public notice as well, which is important for many of our members. So again, we're asking, what do you read, and then what's important to you? And so this is really for trend lines. And you see that we have public or legal notices. And that helps us better understand and gives us some data, again, on, you know, that people are looking for this type of information in newspapers.
Can you go back up to the top of that question, Rebecca?
Sure. The how important?
So, I guess my question is, if we're looking at this from an advertising standpoint, if, you know, and I'm just thinking of least common denominator or lowest, you know, thought process on this stuff. This to me would say that we're looking at this from a viewpoint of an editorial standpoint.
These two questions are primarily editorial, because they're creating that trend line that's going to run through year over year. You'll have this data. We get into the advertising ones in just a second. So now we're into when you make buying decisions. So we want to see what they're reading, what's important to them about the content, and then we're popping into advertising.
Okay, thanks. Sorry, I had a misunderstanding.
Oh, not, and it's helpful to kind of get your read on these things too. So we're looking for what things are important to users about their buying decisions, and then how likely you are to trust advertisements based on where you see it. So what we're trying to get at here is the, you know, historically, content is less trusted when it's online. It's more trusted when it's connected with your local newspaper. It's very much trusted when you see it in print. So we're trying to get at some of that, those thoughts in that question. Specifically actionable information on from businesses, and then where do people look for information? So this can help as many of our advertising staffers are going out into the world in a holistic marketing sense. You know, are they, if consumers are looking for information from, you know, email marketing or direct mail or the newspaper, this way you can start to put together a whole package to serve that client.
Rebecca, when you customize this for us, can you change that from newspaper to magazine?
Sure.
For
Yeah.
any of those references?
I'm just taking a note there so I don't forget.
Yeah.
To magazine.
Would it be easier just to say publication?
Might be, but if it's already, you already rolled this out, is it already launched?
Actually, everyone has their URL. I can go and change
Okay.
it. But Connie, that's a great point for going forward that I'm just going to
Just that way,
Yeah.
then you don't have to worry about it and grabbing the wrong one or.
Yeah. Okay, so and then what type of information you look for in advertisements. This is basically so that when one is creating an ad, you can have good demonstrable information for your clients to say, make sure you're putting this type of information in your ads, because it's what readers want. And then we get into shopping plans. So we decided to kind of cut a little bit to say, all right, what are you going to do after the coronavirus theoretically eases or tones down, or what are your buying patterns in the next 12 months? So we've got a bunch of different sectors there, and then also an other. And then we're also asking, how often do you read specific advertising oriented content in the publication? And then we always like to add something about public notices. Legislatively, I'm always looking ahead. You know, the session's going to start in January in Maryland. Always worried about an attack on notice, especially this year as local governments have less money. They always seem to want to take it out of public notice. So we have something specifically about this issue. What we've found in the past is that people overwhelmingly do want it in local newspaper and the website. They don't want it on the government website. Buying decisions, just asking about whether it's influenced by advertising or content. And then we get into the demographics. So age, gender, residential zip code. So this is sometimes helpful for publications to know where their respondents are drawing from. And then again, household income, education, and then any final comments. And I would say people are not afraid to share what's on their mind. So some of these final comments and open-ended questions, last year we got some really interesting responses. You could see pretty dramatically that one publication had recently enacted a paywall through the comments. You know, it was a lot of good information that came up. And then
we did this one time, and I tell you, they took each writer and excoriated the different articles that they wrote. It was really something. And in the newspaper, they cut it out and wrote in, in the spaces. It was very, very funny.
Well, you know, I feel like the passion that people have for their
very passionate.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. And then if they want to be entered into the gift card drawing, obviously we need a way to contact them. So that's the only time we're asking for personally identifiable information. So that's a quick run through of the survey. The Audience Development Committee works on this, and we really try and make sure that it is at a point where it's suitable for all the publications. And if you have feedback or things that you want to kind of consider for next year, I'm happy to entertain it. If there's something drastically wrong that we have to change this year, it's helpful to know so we can get in there as well.
Based on the number of responses that we got last year, what is is that a good amount of response? What is there a number of responses that we are aiming for an individual publication and also for the regional version of it to kind of give us some statistical validity?
I think, and really statistical validity is you're supposed to reach X percentage of your readers.
And random, and these people who are responding are all self-selecting, and I understand all of those things, but what's that critical mass we need to really make sure we know that this is worthwhile?
Well, I think it's, we had 1913 survey responses last year out of 9 publications. And so the average on that, actually the Herald Mail had about 800 responses. Catholic,
That's awesome.
which was great. And I think, like I would feel really confident on that. Frederick News Post had 412. Catholic Review, you have a smaller distribution. I think you had about 29.
Yeah, we need to do better on that.
Well, and I think it's also, for some people, it's the first time in a long time doing this. So it just took a while to get started. But I would really want to shoot for somewhere in the, 300 to 400 range, if you can, for most of our publications. Yeah. Now, that being said, I was surprised last year at how you could see specific publications having, particular issues or comments, but generally the responses kind of tracked across all publications. So it wasn't as divergent as I would have expected. So I think that the roll-up is, if you have any doubt, look at the roll-up. Because that should be pretty much in line.
Okay.
Rebecca, do you have an example of the report that you provided after? I mean, I don't need to see
actually,
responses,
but I'm just kind of curious on what format we see this come back to us in.
So I'm gonna do it slightly different for advertising. And let me just go back to, I think it's the screen to.
Well, the other question I've got is Joy just kind of referred to that some of the folks went into the paper and pulled it out and filled out a survey. Is this going to be a print thing also, or just a digital survey that we send people to?
So it's a digital survey that you send it to. So what you will get is, last year I had done the readership survey roll-up. Is a, hang on, bear with me and I'll show it to you. The combined roll-up, here it is. So it has all the findings here. So you can see the demographics and sample size, and this is what you got. So you got it. I rolled this up and disseminated it across the membership, and you're frozen again.
You're frozen again. Sorry, Rebecca, to interrupt you, but you're frozen.
Oh, no, that's all right. It does say that it's paused. Why am I paused? Bear with me while I see why this is paused. Here it is. I'm just going to share this. There you go. I'm screen sharing now. So
Great,
this is the PDF that I sent out as a rolled up version, with the summary, demographics, and then your actionable information. So you get a version of this for your own publication, and you get a version of it as the regional. And this has all the nitty-gritty information. For advertising, I'm going to have our designer put together a one sheet that makes this much more graphically interesting. I think many publications probably want some of these specifics, like when we were talking about the importance of topics and things like that. That's that question that's the same from year to year. We'll be able to, you can pull out some of your specifics, but I'm going to give you a one sheet that's graphically representative, that you can put your, whatever additional stuff you want that your staff can actually go out and use.
So this isn't going to go in print at all.
So you have ads that can go into print, and it'll drive people online, because that's a 21 question survey. I think that's really hard to print. Yeah. If you want to, you can.
Yeah. Rebecca, do you want to, if you would let me share the screen, I can show the report you sent us last year.
Sure.
So.
Thanks, Chris.
Yeah, let me make you a co-host.
And Rebecca, when you send this out, as far as the elements of the survey, you send us like a 300 by 250 digital ad. I know you've got a specific link for each one of us to direct to. So if the digital component's there, it should be a no-brainer. And if Don has watched this recording, who's my ad director, when he gets back into the office, he should, at this point, should be able to figure out exactly how we can put it up. So
yeah, so in Dropbox, and I have the link on that a little bit, sort of on my next slide, but this is what Chris is showing for this is the raw material out. This is what you got from SurveyMonkey for me last year.
Yeah. So this is, and so it's graphically represented, as well as you've got the data. If you want to parse that, you can go in and do that. So,
gotcha.
This was helpful to us. So
Yeah.
But then a lot of people do want just like the summary. So we're going to get that for you as well. I'm going to just pop back to this, the slideshow for a sec and share that so that, oops, wrong screen to share. You can see in the Dropbox, we have all the ads. We also have, here it is. We suggest that you publicize it by doing a publisher's note in the paper and an email blast out, and I have copies specifically for that. Remember that the survey is going to close October 28th. You can start it at any time, and I'll send you your personal results November 1st, or a little bit earlier, and we'll do a results webinar on the 30th. So in Dropbox, let's see if I can get that to come up in a way that you all can see. Let's see, Dropbox, let's share that. You have all the different ad sizes here. And I think it's just thinking. And are you guys, can you see the Dropbox here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And it was also in the email that I sent to you, the link for Dropbox. And so you have, this is like the how-to with all of our best practices and what's going on. Here's the email copy. And then here are all the different ads in different sizes. If you want to amend them, you have the native files, the JPEGs and PDFs. So you should have it in a variety of sizes and set for web, print, and social. Let's see, anything else? I just want to make sure I've got all this there. We talked about the $50 gift card. You have your URL. You have the Dropbox links. And then best practices. Obviously, you need to customize the ads with your logo and make sure that it's pointing to the URL. I do recommend you do a initial launch email, publicize it in print and online, drive it on social, and then it also helps to do a don't forget email. We suggest right around October 19th in advance of your survey close. So it's pretty straightforward. It's just kind of getting all the pieces in place is the toughest part.
So I guess as far as limiting the number of entries or surveys that are filled out by one person, is that possible? I mean, in Christopher, I don't know if it was further down on the report that you shared, but does it show like the email addresses or the mailing addresses of the folks that participate in this? Because I mean, I'm just thinking if somebody could sit there and fill out 200 surveys and it'd look awesome, but at the end of the day, I'd be stuck with the same answers from the same person,
Yeah.
So we didn't limit it in that way. If you want to be entered into the drawing, you have to provide your email address and your name. And what in practice, we didn't have someone grinding through like that. The there were, I'm not going to say there were no duplicates, because I'm sure maybe there was, but that didn't seem to be a real concern or problem.
And it looked like about 60% of the people who responded for us provided the name, zip code, and email to enter the contest. So, you know, it wasn't a significant number, but yeah, we captured individual email addresses, and it was easy enough to parse those and see if somebody's trying to game the system to win, you know, get a better chance to win the $50 gift card.
Yeah, well, and I mean, $50 is not that big of a deal. You know, I mean, if somebody wants to spend 200 or the time to fill out 200 surveys to get $50, then they've really got a lot of time on their hands. But,
Exactly.
but my concern is that we get the same answer 200 times and it skews the survey results. You know, it's kind of one of those things where it's like, well, you know, I would love to know that John Smith loves our advertising for classified, but if he's the only one and we've got 300 responses and 200 of them are his, that becomes a different, you know, issue.
Sure.
Through SurveyMonkey, we do know what IP address people use. Now, granted, sometimes you'll have, you know, members of the household doing it or whatnot.
Right.
So we could restrict to be only one response per IP address. I think that sometimes that works against what you're really trying to get at.
That's limiting, yeah.
Yeah.
But Rob, if you have a particular concern about that for your URL, I'm happy to, you know, tweak it so only one response per IP address if you like. But I also don't want to like anger people who are saying my husband wants to fill it out, I want to fill it out, which is perfectly legit and I think does happen. But they're sharing the same internet's IP address. So we can figure out what's going to work best for you if you want.
No, it's just previous experience. You know, we're running Dog Days of Summer contest for people to vote for, you know, their animals and stuff like that. And we've done it for cutest baby and ugliest dog and that kind of stuff in the past, just to see, you know, get some reader interaction. And I just, you know, it's one of those things that I've just kind of gotten to that point where I want to make sure that we do try to figure out if we get in the right results, you know, on back on some of this stuff. And in this case, it's just about us. So like I said, I'm pretty sure nobody's going to sit there and fill out 200 surveys for $50.
Yeah.
But I've tried before.
The survey or the feature I want to see you do next is ugliest baby.
No.
Yes, definitely. Baby. That's going to be fun. And so that's sort of the hows and whys of the readership survey. I did want to draw your attention to some of the upcoming things that we have going on. We're in the middle, or I guess in the beginning parts of our Need to Know series. So a lot of our Need to Know content this fall is about elections. So next Wednesday at 9:30, we have Creating Election Coverage That's Trusted from Joy Mayer of the Trusting News organization. And then we have a whole series on untangling campaign finance reporting. And this is all by Zoom, it's all free. And then October 7th, something that I think we'll all be excited to know is how to make sense of polls. So we have Mylea Cromer of the Goucher poll sharing her expertise. We'll talk about public notices on the 14th, interviewing sources about sensitive subjects, which politics definitely seems to be that sensitive subject these days. And then I'll present our readership survey results on the 30th. And then just a little plug for our board meeting and annual meeting. So I hope you'll be able to join us for some of those things. The registration links are on the Friday Planner. And I'll send out specific emails about each of those as they come up.